Maxine is a brand new 2024 film that was directed by Ty West, and this is the third film in a trilogy following X, which is the first one, and Pearl, which is the second one, which is a prequel to X. And both of those films, interestingly enough, came out at the same time, or in the same year, I should say, just a few months apart. And then Maxine, I think it was in production for a while, so I don't know if it was a year and a half or 2 years that it took to follow up with Pearl. Probably just a year to a year and a half. I don't think it hit the full 2 year mark. However, it came out June, I believe, so not too long ago at all, and I just got to it now. So if you saw my previous video, it basically explain why I took 2 months off. Basically, the summer kicked my ass, and I really didn't have time for movies, and I had to put films in the back burner. So I've barely watched anything, and I have a lot to catch up on. Maxine being one of them. And I got a chance to check that one out today because it was very high on my list, and that was absolutely one of the first films that I was going to be checking out. So basically, if you're familiar with X and Pearl, I mean, I don't really want to get too much into the details of those films. I assume anybody watching this review knows about them. Basically, you're following this woman named Maxine, and this film itself focuses primarily on Maxine. Maxine was a main character in X, and she was with like a group of people. She wanted to be like a movie star, but she was like a porn actress basically, and X basically takes like a Texas Chainsaw Massacre kind of feel. And then Pearl, which is the prequel, Mia Goth, who plays Maxine, plays this woman named Pearl, who was really young in like the 1920s or something. She played an old woman in X, and in Pearl, we follow Pearl as a young woman. And then with Maxine, we just strictly follow Maxine's character, where she's playing a porn star. She's now in Hollywood. She's basically she's a little bit older now. She knows the industry a lot more. She's a lot more confident in herself and more of a wild child. This film, Ty West is amazing at capturing like eras and lures and vibes, especially of different decades and different styles of horror films, especially. This film reminded me of so many films when it comes to its mood. If anybody has seen or heard of the film Basket Case, I highly recommend checking it out. I definitely got a lot of cinematography that reminded me very much of Basket Case. Any fans of Giallo movies will definitely get a kick out of this one because this film very much sprinkles Giallo elements and Giallo themes, especially involving this mysterious killer with the black gloves and black hat and everything. For anybody who knows their Giallo films, it really pays tribute to basically a hell of a lot of movies of all kinds. There's even a Hammer movie reference in this one made by a character. And I had an absolute blast with this one. Kevin Bacon is in this film, and he plays a villain essentially, and he plays a really slimy villain with a really, like, I don't know if it's a Southern accent. I think it sounds like a Southern accent, but he does a really good job with it, and he just plays one of the most slimy characters ever. That's kind of chasing down Maxine, and he's chasing her down for multiple reasons, and they kind of get into this cat and mouse thing that I don't want to give too much detail on due to spoilers, but it's really interesting how that dynamic plays off. There's great gore scenes. There's one scene in particular in this back alley involving Maxine and what I will just say a Charlie Chaplin wannabe character. If anybody's seen the film, that's one of my favorite scenes in particular. And the story is basically Maxine working for this British woman and just trying to make it as a star. And all the while, she seems to be chased down and hunted down by this mysterious figure. And we get a little bit of lore at the beginning of the film of like her childhood and stuff like that. And it leads into this climax where you get all the reveals, and then you kind of piece together Maxine's history and Maxine's presence, I should say, present, and kind of what led, where she came from, what led her to where she is, and who's kind of following her and chasing her, and why, essentially. The soundtrack in this film. I mean, the needle drops. Ty West must have paid a fortune for the music that he uses in this film and got to use in this film, because the needle drops are just beautiful. You got these just 80s synth songs as well as these like classic rock tracks from the 80s that are just so memorable. So much like Hitchcockian moments. There's even this one scene too where it plays out completely like a Western, because this whole film pretty much takes place in the Hollywood Hills. So essentially it's just like all studios kind of thing. So you have this one moment where even with the music and everything, it starts to feel a little bit Westerny, even though I hate Westerns. But yeah, it leads into one of the best climaxes ever, and one of the best endings ever. And I think this film really does a great job wrapping up the trilogy, which is the one thing I was hoping it would do well, and it definitely delivered for me. I heard a lot of people who found this film to be the weakest one in the trilogy. I couldn't disagree more. I kind of like this one a little bit more than X, and I'm going to be truthful, I have not seen Pearl yet. I did not feel the need to watch Pearl before this one, because watching X and knowing that this one continues the story from X, I didn't really see the need to watch Pearl. Although there is moments in this film that flash back to X and to certain moments in Pearl as well. But overall, I'm so far, I put this as my second favorite film of the year, which is saying something. And this came so close to being an automatic 5 out of 5, but I still gave it a 4.5. Just for now, I'll give it another watch and maybe that'll change. But this one surprised the hell out of me, and it gets a huge 2 thumbs up, and I recommend checking this one out. Mia Goth is phenomenal. If you like X, I mean, watch the first, watch at least watch X, and then go watch Maxxxine, because it'll definitely be worth your time. So that's my thoughts on Maxxxine, and I loved the hell out of it. Subscribe to Barton Film Fan if you'd like to listen to my voice, or if you like my film reviews. I will be back with more soon, so stay tuned for those. Check out what's on the channel already. Stay tuned for what's coming. Until next review, have a good one. Take care and cheers.